I still think about that night. It was a few years ago. I was 36 and working as a paramedic. My dad had gone in for surgery, and I was there to support him. I thought it would just be another night in the hospital, worrying in the waiting room. I never thought it would change everything. The hospital felt familiar but strange. The lights flickered more than usual. The sounds faded away, leaving an eerie silence. I sat in one of those green chairs, shifting my weight, staring at the clock on the wall. I felt a sinking feeling, as if I should be anywhere else but there. Then I thought I heard a voice, my father's voice, calling my name. At first I thought I imagined it. I rushed through the empty hallways, passing busy nurses and muffled alarms. But when I got to the surgical area, it was empty. Confusion settled in. Maybe it was just my mind, I told myself. I'm just stressed. But something deep down felt wrong. As minutes turned into hours, I couldn't shake the feeling. I stood up and paced, trying to hear anything. I thought I heard whispers, but it might have just been the air conditioning. I was tired and tense. Then I heard laughter echoing down the hallway. It chilled me to my core. My heart raced. I glanced around the waiting area. Other families were lost in their own concerns. I wanted to scream for help, but the laughter faded into a cry for help that echoed in my ears. It sounded so much like my dad. I felt cold and confused. Should I run down the hall or stay where I was? A nurse walked past. She gave me a strange look, like she knew something I didn't. I wanted to ask her if she heard my dad's voice too, but I couldn't find the words. The lights flickered again. Every time I thought I heard my father, they blinked. It felt like the hospital was reacting to something. Around midnight, fear twisted inside me. I thought of all the nights I had been there for families, holding hands and comforting them. Why was this night different? "Dad?" I called out, my voice barely above a whisper. The hall was silent, and I felt the emptiness all around me. Then I heard it again, that voice calling my name. This time it was clearer, desperate. "Mark!" I rushed towards the surgical room, but when I got closer, the door swung shut, like someone wanted to keep me away. I hesitated. Was something terrible happening? Then I heard it once more. "Why didn't you help me?" The words pierced through me. I froze, unable to move or breathe. I still don't understand what happened that night. The lights flickered, and I could hear my father's voice calling from somewhere beyond, but it was never clear. I was too late, and I needed to know why it all happened. But I never will. I haven't stopped thinking about it since. I couldn't shake off the memory of that night. It clung to me like a shadow, dark and persistent. The next day, I swallowed my fears and returned to the hospital. I needed answers. I walked through the familiar glass doors, my heart pounding. Every sound felt amplified, every whisper a reminder of what I lost. I headed straight for the surgical wing. The fluorescent lights buzzed overhead. Nurses moved quickly, their faces set in a routine that felt alien to me. I approached the front desk, my hands trembling. "Excuse me," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "I'm looking for information about my father. He had surgery last night." The receptionist looked up, her expression flat. She typed something into her computer, but I noticed her eyes flicker to the side, where the hallway turned dark. "You might want to speak with Dr. Levin," she said. Her voice lacked warmth, and I felt a shiver run through me. "Where can I find him?" I asked. She pointed me in the direction of a waiting area down the hall. I thanked her and walked away, feeling a weight in my stomach. As I made my way, I remembered the laughter I heard. It echoed, leaving a bitter taste in my mouth. That laughter had turned into anguish, transforming my fear into anger. I was ready to confront whoever held the key to my father's fate. I found Dr. Levin in the waiting area, scribbling notes on a chart. I cleared my throat. "Doctor, what happened to my father last night?" I didn't recognize my own voice. It was firm, almost demanding. He looked up, surprise flashing in his eyes. "Mark, I didn't expect you so soon." There was a guarded note in his voice. "Your father's surgery went well, but—" "Is he okay?" I interrupted, fear creeping back in. "Physically, yes, but there were complications during recovery." "Complications?" Panic surged inside me. "What do you mean?" Dr. Levin hesitated, weighing his words. "There were episodes, moments where he was confused, disoriented. It's not uncommon, but with your father, it was more intense." "Intense how?" I pressed, my heart racing. "It's like he was speaking to someone else, calling out names, specifically yours." My breath caught. "What do you mean? He was calling for me?" The doctor nodded, his gaze serious. "He was repeating your name during those episodes. It wasn't the first time either. I've seen this before, Mark. It's as if they're reaching out." "Reaching out? What are you saying? Is he losing it?" I struggled to process the words. Dr. Levin sighed. "It could be a form of regression, a memory or recognition that's emergent in times of distress. But it could also mean he sensed your concern, your presence." It hit me hard. It made some sense. "So he knew I was there?" "Yes, but there's something deeper at play. I don't want to alarm you." "But—" He trailed off, glancing past me into the darkened hallway. "What?" I urged, feeling as if I was on the precipice of something big. "Sometimes, when people pass out, their minds can tap into other outcomes. I can't say for sure what he experienced, but if you heard his voice calling you, that might not be a coincidence." I stared at him, all the memories crashing back. The laughter, the whisper, his voice, that night. I still needed to know why he had been calling for me like that. And then something shifted in the hallway. A shadow moved, momentarily catching my eye. That's when I saw it. The flicker of a familiar face, just out of reach. I felt a chill run down my spine. I had to find out what it meant. I barely had time to process what I'd just seen. The familiar face flickered in my mind like a bad dream. I turned, scanning the hallway, but there was nothing there. Just the sterile linoleum and the flickering lights overhead. My gut twisted. Had it been a trick of my mind? A projection of my anxiety? "Mark?" Dr. Levin's voice cut through the haze, pulling me back. I stammered, shaking my head as if to clear it. "I thought I saw someone." "Who?" His brow furrowed with concern. "I don't know. It was just a flash, a moment. But something's off here, Doctor. Something is wrong with my father. Why would he call for me?" Dr. Levin eyed me closely, his expression shifting. "Let's not jump to conclusions. Medical anomalies happen, but you're right to be concerned. Sometimes connections run deeper than we understand." I felt my heart thud painfully in my chest. "What do you mean?" Before he could respond, the lights above us flickered violently, plunging us momentarily into darkness. I felt a cold rush of air, a feeling of discomfort that made my skin prickle. Then the lights resumed their buzz, though they felt different now, somehow more ominous. A voice echoed in the hallway, just low enough to be indistinct, but tangible. My heart raced again. There was something familiar about the tone, like a distant echo from my childhood. I couldn't tell if it was real or part of my spiraling anxiety. "Did you hear that?" I asked, my eyes wide, searching Dr. Levin's face for reassurance. He nodded slowly, glancing around. "Let's check it out." With each step into the growing dusk beyond the hallway, I felt a magnetism pulling me toward whatever lay ahead. The air felt charged, as if something unseen lingered just out of sight. I could still feel the echo of my father's voice clinging to me, begging for attention. Down the corridor, I could see a door slightly ajar, light spilling from within. The discomfort inside me deepened. "Is there anyone in there?"
I whispered, more to myself than to the doctor. "Let's find out," Dr. Levin replied, inching forward cautiously.
As we approached the door, the voice echoed again, clearer this time. It was unmistakably my father's, calling my name. The sound gripped me, both a balm and a dagger. I reached for the handle, heart pounding, and hesitated. "You first," Dr. Levin urged, his voice low but firm. I pushed the door, and it creaked open. The room was dim, the curtains pulled shut. Machines beeped softly, the only sound breaking the oppressive silence. I glanced around, expecting to see my father lying in his bed, maybe even smiling. Instead, the room was empty, but the air felt thick, electrified with dread. That's when I noticed on the floor a small object, something glinting in the low light. I knelt down, my fingers trembling as they brushed against it. It was a medallion, ornate and etched with strange symbols. A cold chill rolled down my spine. As I picked it up, a sudden wave of darkness swept through the room, and everything went silent. Then I heard it again, my father's voice, now filled with urgency and fear. "Mark, don't!" The words turned into a deafening silence, and I felt the weight of something approaching. I looked up, and my stomach dropped. Someone was behind me. I froze, the medallion clutched tightly in my hand. A figure loomed in the doorway, shrouded in shadow. My breath caught, and I struggled to make out any details. The voice had come from my father, but now this presence felt foreign, threatening. "Who are you?" I managed to croak. The figure stepped closer, and in the halting light, I could see the outlines of matted hair and sunken eyes. Panic surged through me. This was not my father, but someone who might have known him. My instincts screamed danger. "Mark," it rasped, a hollow sound that sent shivers down my spine. "You have to listen to me." The voice mimicked my father's, warped and twisted, as if it had been run through some dark filter. I took a step back, pressing myself against the wall, the coldness of the linoleum seeping through my clothes. "Mark!" Dr. Levin interjected, stepping in front of me protectively. His voice was steady, but I could sense his own discomfort. "What do you know about Mark's father?" The figure paused, an almost imperceptible flicker of recognition passing over its face. "He's in danger. You have to leave this place." My heart was pounding, the medallion heavy as it swung from my grasp. "What do you mean? Who are you?" I demanded, feeling a mix of anger and terror. "I can show you," it whispered, reaching out a hand. The gesture felt unnatural, as though it belonged to someone who had long forgotten the warmth of human touch. "Stay back!" I cried. The walls felt like they were closing in. The darkness behind the figure thickened, and I felt its chill creep into my bones. "Mark, we need to go," Dr. Levin urged, grabbing my arm. He pulled me backward, and I stumbled, shaken free from the figure's eerie spell. "Listen to him! Trust him!" the figure cried, but the urgency in its voice only intensified my fear. I felt a sudden lurch in my gut. I could not leave without knowing more. "What about my father? What has happened to him?" I shouted, desperation clawing at my throat. "Hurry!" the figure yelled, the desperation turning into a wild frenzy. "They are coming!" The lights flickered again, this time plunging us into darkness, then back to life. I could see shadows flickering along the walls, whispering secrets I could not hear. It felt as though something was awakening in the depths of the hospital. "No!" The figure's expression twisted into something fierce, almost pleading. "You don't understand what you're dealing with." I was torn between the need to flee and the urge to understand. Just as I felt myself being pulled toward the mystery, the door slammed shut, cutting off our escape. I heard it lock, the sound echoing through the room like a death knell. A familiar voice echoed in the distance again.
This time, not just my father's, but a chorus of whispers melding into one frantic cry. "Mark, run!" What was happening? My head spun as I fought against Dr. Levin's grip, desperate to reach that shadowed figure, desperate to dig into the depths of uncertainty. But before I could act, the lights flickered one last time, plunging everything into darkness once more. "Mark, we need to go now!" Dr. Levin's voice urged, pulling me back from the edge of what I didn't want to face. I took one last look in the direction of the figure before the darkness swallowed everything. The darkness felt alive, and I couldn't shake the feeling that it was watching. I knew that whatever had happened to my father was deeper and far more dangerous than I could ever have imagined. The darkness pressed in around us, suffocating and thick. I could barely see anything, my eyes straining for some sign of the figure, but all that remained was an oppressive void. Dr. Levin's grip tightened around my arm, pulling me toward the far wall, away from whatever threat had emerged. "Mark, focus," he whispered urgently. "We need to move." I glanced back toward the door, my pulse racing. "But what about?" "Nothing else matters right now." His voice was sharp, cutting through my panic. "We have to get out of here." A deep rumble echoed through the building. I felt the vibrations through the concrete floor, and my stomach knotted. The hospital, once a refuge, now felt like a prison. What was happening? Why did it feel like the whole place was shifting around us? Dr. Levin began to lead me down the shadowy corridor. I could barely make out the outlines of the walls, and doors loomed like dark sentinels, watching us. The air felt charged with an energy I didn't understand, buzzing with an unseen force. As we moved, I heard it.
My father's voice. "Mark, help me!" It was distant, muffled, as if he were trapped somewhere far away. I stopped, yanking my arm free from Dr. Levin's grip. "I can't leave him!" I shot back, my heart pounding loudly in my ears. "Listen, we have to get to safety first." Dr. Levin's tone softened, desperation bleeding through. "There are things here that are beyond us. We can't help him unless we make it out." I didn't want to believe him, but every instinct told me he was right. I stepped back, ready to follow, but only after one last attempt to get more information. Why is there danger? Who was that figure? Was it him? Was he warning me? My voice came out in a pleading whisper, each word tumbling out in frantic succession. Dr. Levin hesitated, his brow furrowing. "The figure, I think it was someone trying to reach out. Your father's past, we need to uncover it first. There are forces at play that don't want the truth to come out. Then we have to fight." I was shaken now, fear mixing with a spark of anger. "We can't just abandon him." Before I could finish, the lights flickered violently overhead. They buzzed and hummed, threatening to plunge us back into darkness. One of the nearby doors slammed open with a clang, sending a chill racing down my spine. A figure emerged, silhouetted against the dim light. "Mark!" It was the same distorted voice from before, calling my name with a desperation that made my skin crawl. Stumbling backward, I frantically glanced at Dr. Levin, who suddenly looked pale, his eyes wide with horror. That was when the door slammed shut behind us, trapping us in a corridor with no way out. "Now!" Dr. Levin urged, urgency turning into command. "This way!" He darted down another corridor, and against every instinct, I followed him, even as the dark figure inched closer. The echoes of my father's voice melded with the figures, as if they were two parts of a broken melody. We rushed around a corner, and I almost collided with a patch of flickering light that radiated from an open room. Using the brief illumination, I caught a glimpse of what lay within. A hospital room filled with clutter, strange symbols scrawled on the walls, and medical equipment piled high. In the center of the chaos, there was something, or someone, covered by a sheet. That's when I saw it, a glint of metal peeking out from beneath the sheet. My heart raced, and dread settled in my stomach. I stepped forward, drawn in by a mix of fear and curiosity. But before I could reach it, the lights flickered once again.
The figure was right behind us, moving closer. I turned to run, but Dr. Levin grabbed my arm again. "Not that way," he shouted, pulling me toward the far side of the room. I could hear the figure's footsteps growing louder, heavy and deliberate, as if they
were stalking us. Panic surged again, clawing at my throat. "Where do we go?" My voice was hardly a whisper. Dr. Levin pointed to a door at the back of the room, the fading light barely illuminating the metal handle. "That's our way out. Move!" We rushed towards it, my heart racing faster with each step. I could almost feel the shadow breathing down my neck, urging me to stop, to turn around. My father's voice crackled through the chaos once more desperate this time. "Mark, help me!" I hesitated, guilt grinding in my gut. "We can't just leave him." "He's not your father anymore," Dr. Levin hissed, urgency spilling into his words. "This isn't about him. It's about staying alive." His words cut deep, and I was torn, but I forced myself to focus. I had to trust him. The world around me twisted with shadows, and I couldn't let whatever haunted this place drag us back down. Finally reaching the door, I flung it open, and the rush of stale air hit me. It led into another dark corridor. The flickering lights above us cast eerie shadows that danced like restless spirits. "Stay close," Dr. Levin said, pushing me forward. We hurried down the hallway, adrenaline coursing through my veins. I could hear my father's voice echoing behind us, clearer now, but tinged with something dangerous. "Mark, you're leaving me!" What is happening? I couldn't hold back my panic. Is he trapped? Are we just going to leave him? "Focus," Dr. Levin snapped. "We're not leaving him. We're setting things right." Ahead of us loomed a stairway leading down. The air felt heavier, charged with an energy that felt almost alive. My skin prickled with awareness of something looming just beyond the visible range. As we descended, every step resonated through the emptiness. The shadows seemed to swirl around us, creeping along the walls. I glanced back, but the figure remained hidden in darkness. I could only feel its gaze lingering on us. Something was off. The deeper we went, the more I felt like we were stepping into a trap. "Why are we going down?" I asked, uncertainty creeping in. "We need to find the source," Dr. Levin replied, his voice steady. "The truth is below us." Before I could respond, the lights flickered yet again, plunging us into darkness. I instinctively reached for Dr. Levin's hand, my heart pounding in my chest. When the lights returned, I gasped. We stood in a large, open space filled with medical charts, photographs, and remnants of old equipment. And in the center was a twisted metal device, wires tangled around it like some monstrous vine. That's not just any equipment, is it?" I managed to say, horror dawning on me as I recognized its significance. Dr. Levin stepped closer, his expression grim. This was part of the experiments. It was meant to bridge two worlds, the one we know, and what lies beyond. I felt a chill race down my spine. But why? Before he could answer, another voice filled the space, layering upon my father's. "Mark, don't believe him. You have to save me." I stared at the device, realizing we were on the edge of something far more terrifying than I had ever imagined. All the pieces were coming together, but I couldn't see the full picture. The figure returned, blocking the exit behind us. My pulse raced in the heightened silence. I took a step back as realization hit me like a wave. The truth was far deadlier than I ever anticipated. Now we were trapped between worlds, and the battle was just beginning. The figure shifted in the shadows, its presence overwhelming. I felt an instinctive pull to flee, but the device behind me held my gaze. I could see it glimmer, almost beckoning. "Dr. Levin, what are we supposed to do?" My voice trembled. The air around us thickened, suffocating any last shred of calm. Dr. Levin stepped forward, fists clenching at his sides. "We need to activate it. I think it's the key to either saving your father or—" he paused, his eyes glancing back toward the figure,
or setting everything right, but we must be quick. Activate it? How? My mind raced. I took a cautious step towards the device, its metallic surface glinting like a curse. Look for a control panel. There should be buttons, something. I'll distract it, he said, determination etched on his face. The figure shifted again, a murky outline against the backdrop of shadows, and I was acutely aware of its intent. I forced myself to explore the perimeter of the large device, heart racing. The cold metal was unnerving against my fingers. Panic surged as I searched. "Mark, hurry!" Dr. Levin yelled, his voice strained. I dared a glance back to see him standing his ground, just barely. The air sparked with tension. Then I saw it, a small panel on the side of the device. I rushed over, my hands trembling as I flicked the cover open. Buttons adorned the surface, each inscribed with strange symbols I couldn't decipher. There were no labels, nothing to guide me. "Just try something," Dr. Levin shouted, grunting as he dodged the figure's advancing presence. The air vibrated with chaos. I pressed a large green button, the only color standing out against the dull metallic surface. Immediately, a low hum filled the room, and the lights flickered violently. The shadows danced more erratically, inching closer. "Not that button! Try another!" I heard Dr. Levin yell as he backed up a step, eyes wide. I slammed my hand down on a red button next to the one I'd pressed. The hum transformed into a deafening roar. The shadows writhed and swirled, echoing my dread. The device began to shake, tremors running through the ground beneath my feet. "Mark, you have to!" Dr. Levin shouted, but his words were drowned out as the room began to tremble. Then everything went dark.
Lights above us died completely, engulfing us in a suffocating blackness. I felt a rush of air, cold and sharp, followed by an unbearable silence. I groped blindly in the dark, panic tightening its grip around me. The device's vibrations had abruptly stopped. "Dr. Levin!" I cried out, my voice echoing into the void. "Where are you?" It felt as though time stretched infinitely, suffocating me in uncertainty. I couldn't even hear the footsteps of the figure anymore. My heart thudded loudly. I stumbled, trying to orient myself, but I felt utterly lost. And then I heard it, a whisper, faint but familiar, cutting through the silence. "Mark, help me." My father's voice. I froze, longing and fear surging through me, battling against the unsettling reality I was in. I had to find Dr. Levin. I had to know where the exit was. My father's voice beckoned me deeper, but I felt the truth weighing heavily in my chest. "Dr. Levin," I whispered, the darkness closing in. That's when I felt it, a cold hand gripping my shoulder. I flinched at the contact, muscles tensed as I instinctively spun around. My heart raced as I squinted into the black, trying to make out any detail. "Who's there?" I stammered, my voice barely a whisper. "Mark, it's me," a familiar voice replied. It was Dr. Levin. I felt a rush of relief, but it was quickly followed by fear. "What happened? Where's the figure?" I asked, gripping his arm in the darkness, desperate for some semblance of security. "I don't know. It vanished when the lights went out," he explained. I could hear the unease in his voice. "But we can't stay here. We need to figure out what that device is capable of." The shadows swirled around us, almost alive, as if they were still in the room. I couldn't shake the image of the figure, its void-like presence. "Did you hear my dad too?" I asked, almost afraid of the answer. "Yes. It's possible he's trapped somewhere within the device, or the darkness it created." His voice was low, measured. But calling out to him might not be the safest route. I inhaled sharply, each new piece of information tightening the knot in my stomach. The last place I wanted to go was toward the echoes of my father's voice. "But we have to help him," I replied. "He needs me." "Mark,
Dr. Levin interrupted, urgency lacing his tone. "We don't know what's waiting for us. The device, it could hold dark forces. Whatever that entity was, it didn't just disappear." The cold around us thickened, as if the shadows listened in. I felt a swelling dread. So, what now? Find another button on the device. We can't just sit here. We need to activate it again, but carefully this time, he urged. We crept back towards the machine, hand in hand, as silent as we could manage. The darkness pressed in, and I could barely see a few inches ahead.
My mind swirled with fear and confusion. I had no idea what I was getting us into. Then I finally spotted a faint glow near the device. It flickered like a dying ember. "Look!" I pointed, squinting as we approached the control panel once more. "That's it! Let's see if we can decipher those symbols," Dr. Levin said. He leaned closer, fingers brushing the buttons. "Wait, let's try this one." He pointed to a blue button that seemed to pulse lightly, as though alive. "What if that's the trigger?" I asked, hesitantly, thinking of the chaos the red button unleashed. "Only one way to find out," Dr. Levin insisted. His determination flared, igniting my own resolve. Taking a deep breath, I reached out and pressed the blue button. The moment my fingers touched it, the room illuminated with blinding light. Shadows fled to the corners, revealing twisted metal and long-forgotten machinery. For a brief moment, I thought I saw something more, an outline of a doorway in the far wall, glimmering in the sudden brightness. Just as I felt relief, the lights flickered again, dimming to a heartbeat that seemed to echo the rhythm of my panic. And then I saw it. There, in the corner of the room, a figure emerging from the shadows, its form unmistakable. It was my father, eyes full of anguish as he reached out to me. "Mark, help me." I barely had time to respond as a scream erupted from my throat, cutting through the thick tension as the figure's true face twisted into something dark and menacing. I stumbled back, my instincts screaming for me to run. The horror wasn't over. We both realized we were not alone. My breath hitched in my throat. The figure, my father's shape, changed before my eyes. No longer just anguish, but something darker, something that sent chills coursing through me. Dr. Levin grabbed my shoulder, pulling me away from that flickering horror while we stumbled back together. "Stay calm," he whispered fiercely. "We need to focus. What else do you see?" I blinked furiously, trying to clear my head. The glow of the blue button cast shadows across the room, illuminating crumbling walls and machines that looked like they hadn't functioned in decades. "The doorway!" I gasped, pointing. "It might lead somewhere." Dr. Levin's eyes darted to the shimmering opening. "If your father is connected to this, we may have a chance to reach him, but we need to be careful." I nodded, but dread flooded back in as my father's voice echoed through the air again. "Mark, help me! I'm trapped!" His face twisted into a pleading mask that only made my stomach churn. I felt paralyzed between wanting to save him and wanting to run. "What if that's not really him?" I stammered. My voice quavered. "What if it's a trap?" "I can't say for sure," Dr. Levin admitted, his own fear barely hidden beneath his steady facade. "But we have to decide quickly. If we don't act, whatever that entity is could consume us as well." With every heartbeat, the tension mounted. I felt claustrophobic in the suffocating darkness around us. My pulse quickened. What if my dad really needed me? But what if it was all a ruse? Dr. Levin took a step forward toward the glowing doorway, drawing me with him. "Let's stick together," he urged. "We need to face this together." As we approached, the doorway shimmered like a mirage, unpredictable and uncertain. But then, as we drew nearer, the glimmer intensified, revealing ancient glyphs etched around it. I didn't understand them, but they hummed with a strange energy, reminding me of the devices we had observed. "Mark, focus," Dr. Levin said, eyes scanning the area. "What do you feel? What's happening?" "Just a strange pull," I admitted. "It's like the air is charged with electricity."
Suddenly, without warning, the lights sputtered completely, plunging us back into darkness. My heart hammered as I felt a cold breath on my neck. Panic surged anew. "Dr. Levin," I called out, voice trembling. "I'm here," he replied quickly, his voice a tether in the unforgiving dark. But before I could steady myself, the shadows twisted and convulsed, the outline of my father emerging again, his face more distorted and grotesque than before. This time he didn't call out. He lunged toward us with a fury I couldn't comprehend. "Run!" Dr. Levin shouted, yanking me back. I turned, instincts overpowering my fear as we bolted toward the doorway. But it felt like the shadows were reaching, clawing at our heels, pulling us into the abyss. Then everything went black. I stumbled, grabbing for anything solid. It felt as if the air itself had been stolen, leaving us suspended in a void. I could hear Dr. Levin's breath beside me, each sharp intake reminding me I wasn't alone. But the fear of what was following us clawed at my gut. "Mark!" he yelled, the urgency in his voice cutting through the dark. "Stay close. We need to find the controls." I couldn't let myself think about what we had left behind. The urge to turn back almost overwhelmed me, but I forced myself to keep moving forward, trusting that whatever lay ahead would have the answers, or would at least lead us to safety. But one thing was crystal clear. We had opened a door to something terrible, and it was only just beginning to show its true face. I stumbled forward, following Dr. Levin's voice as it surged like a beacon through the darkness. Every instinct clawed at me to stop, to look back and catch a glimpse of what I had left behind, but I pushed myself harder to stay focused. The air grew thick, heavy with an ominous energy that sent chills down my spine. "Keep moving," Dr. Levin urged, dragging me along as we navigated through the oppressive void. I could almost feel the shadows reaching for us, dragging their fingers through
The air around us. Panic rippled through me. I wanted to warn him, to tell him about the nightmarish reflection of my father, but the memory of his twisted face writhed in my mind like an unwelcome serpent. "Do you still hear him?" Dr. Levin asked, his voice a mixture of caution and concern. I hesitated, straining to listen, and then I heard it again, the faint echo of my father's call, laced with desperation. "Mark, help me!" It clawed at my heart, a painful reminder of what might still be lurking beyond the veil. I can hear him," I finally admitted, breathing heavily. "But something's wrong. Remember, it could be a trick," Dr. Levin insisted, his tone fierce yet urgently protective. "Whatever that figure was, it's not your father anymore. We can't trust it." The piercing tension held us captive as we moved forward until we hit a wall. The abrupt stop jarred me back into the present, and I gasped, breathing heavily from the sprint. The wall was textured, cool beneath my fingers. I heard a low hum, resonating from somewhere beyond. "There has to be a control panel here," Dr. Levin muttered, his urgency pushing us onward. "Help me find it." We reached out, our hands gliding over the surface, searching for any sign of the mechanism that might allow us to escape, to return to the world of light. I could feel the shadows thickening behind us, swirling, absorbing the air like a suffocating blanket. A glimmer caught my eye. In the darkness, I saw it, a panel with glowing symbols etched into the surface. My breath quickened at the sight. "Dr. Levin, over here!" He rushed to my side, and we knelt before it. The hum transformed into a low, vibrating pulse, sending sensations coursing through me. "What does it say?" I breathed, feeling a strange grip of anticipation. "I don't know," he whispered back, tracing the symbols with his fingers. "But we need to press something. I can feel something is stabilizing it." My heart raced with each second that passed, drumming like a battle cry in my chest. What if it's a trap? What if pressing something just makes it worse? Dr. Levin looked at me, a resolve etched on his face. "We don't have a choice. The more we delay, the harder this gets. We need to release the tension. I'll cover you."
Suddenly, the shadows danced closer, swirling dangerously. The whisper of despair was unmistakable. "Mark, I'm trapped!" My father's voice echoed, drawing me deeper into confusion. I gripped the panel, uncertainty clawing at my chest. "Trust me," Dr. Levin called again, his brow knitted in determination. "We must act. You have to press one of the buttons." I hesitated just long enough to feel the darkness wrap around my throat like a noose. I let out a breath, squaring my shoulders. "Okay, together. On 3. Dr. Levin nodded, steeling himself. 1, 2, 3. I pressed down on a blue symbol. Light exploded from the panel, casting the shadows back. I felt a surge of energy pulse beneath my feet, and the air vibrated like an electric storm. In an instant, a blinding flash filled the room, tearing through the darkness. And then, silence. Everything stopped. As the light faded, we found ourselves standing in an empty corridor, the humming machines fading into the ether. I felt disoriented, and for a moment, I thought I had gone blind. Slowly, the soft glow of fluorescent lights flickered to life above us. "Did it work?" I breathed, shocked. Dr. Levin surveyed our surroundings, his shoulders relaxing slightly. "I think we're safe, for now." A heavy weight pressed in on me. I felt the anxiety weave through the back of my mind like an insistent whisper, urging me to remember all that had happened up until this point. "But my father, is he really gone?" Before Dr. Levin could respond, the echoes of my father's voice tangled with a different tone, a haunting laugh. "Help me, Mark! Don't leave me!" Dr. Levin tightened his jaw. We might have just disrupted something much larger than we anticipated. "What do you mean?" I asked, panic bubbling back up. "Sometimes breaking the hold of darkness brings it roaring back, and that laughter, it feels like it's mocking us." The fear sank deeper, but then I caught sight of an open door at the far end of the corridor. My heart raced again, a relentless drum. Maybe we can find answers there. We edged toward the door cautiously, but as I stepped through, I was met with a stark, empty space, a stark contrast to the chaos we'd left behind. Piles of charts and strange diagrams crumpled on the floor, littering the ground, remnants of forgotten lives. Dr. Levin's expression darkened. This wasn't just a hospital, Mark. It was a nexus. They tried to tap into something they couldn't control. Are you saying the past lingers here? That's what we faced?" My voice shook. "Yes, and if we don't find a way to confront it, it'll keep seeking you out. Your father might have touched something that activated it." "It's my fault." Regret gnawed at my gut as pieces clicked painfully into place. "If he just tried to reach out." Dr. Levin shook his head. "You can't blame yourself. We all have wounds we carry. What matters is how we face them now." I nodded, though uncertainty still lingered. In that moment, I realized something vital. Just as the lingering shadows taunted me with unanswered questions, the path forward remained shrouded in mystery. Was my father really gone? Or was he swirling in the darkness somewhere, trapped forever? The questions weighed heavy, but before we could rest on them, I caught a movement from the corner of my eye. A shadow darted behind us, a flicker of movement that felt unsettlingly familiar. I spun around, heart thudding in dread. And that's when I caught a glimpse of a figure, just a flash in the corner of the room. Someone reaching out, like my father had, but cloaked in shadows. I blinked, and it was gone. I felt my breath hitch. "Dr. Levin?" He looked at me with an alarmed expression. "We need to go, now." I nodded, but the uncertainty hung heavy in the air. As we fled, I couldn't shake the chilling realization that whatever was lurking here was still tied to me, a shadow clinging to my every step. I could still hear my father's final call echo, leaving me with an unsettling impression that this wasn't over. The looming question remained: who or what was still watching? And in the depths of my mind, the ache lingered. The apprehension that I hadn't seen the last of the shadows that haunted this place. Perhaps, just perhaps, they would come back for me.